a world where insanity reigns supreme and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, it's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. And despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
You magnificent bastard, I read your book.
I drink your milkshake.
How dare you?
I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man.
Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
Captain.
Captain.
Captain. Captain.
Captain. Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain. Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
No, not yet. Not yet. Don't pass out on me yet.
Terrain. Pull up.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. And let me remind you also that moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue.
Of course you realize this means war.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, spelled with a K, a mere 2 miles east of the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the Bill Mill, the belly of the beast, the Capitol building in downtown Sacramento at 10th and L Streets, where late at night you can hear the death of common sense and its concomitant wail as it wafts from that petrifying edifice. And late at night, when I exit the plush, resplendent, sumptuous, palatial, and effulgently bulbous SHR Media Network studios, I'll be smelling the odoriferous stench of sulfur, brimstone, and evil emanating from that mentally destitute column structure aforementioned. I gotta tell you, Fluffy is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is in fact lighted to my right, your left, indicating that you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. You can watch the show on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Facebook page, or Periscope. If it's working. I gotta tell you this also. We don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the toilet, jig a little handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, in the first hour, we have RIGARD. He is a Republican candidate for the California Assembly in District 9. In the second hour, we have some breaking news. About what? About BREXIT, about the impeachment, about what may be occurring tomorrow on Friday, and more buttery political goodness than, well, you can shake a stick at. Thanks to everybody for listening. Hey, it's Mike in chat. Welcome to Simone in chat. Welcome to Dave in chat. Welcome to Kaiser in chat. Welcome to 2 unmasked viewers, or I should say masked viewers in chat, because unlike the federal government, we don't unmask you here. Just thought I'd let you know. We have got a great show tonight. Tonight, basically, it's a really unique individual in the saloon and a unique set of circumstances. First, many thanks go to Lonnie Poindexter for guiding this gentleman in my direction. So gratitude for that, Lonnie. I appreciate it. And as people who listen to the show know, on my first appearance with a guest, I like to get to know a little something about them. Of course, we get into the topic itself then. But first things first, I have opposite me, live, not pre-recorded or over the phone, but live in the actual SHR Media studios, sumptuous, and resplendent as they may be, I have Eric RIGARD, a gentleman who is the, like I indicated, Republican candidate for the California Assembly, District 9. So welcome, Eric RIGARD.
Thank you very much for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about District 9 and what that means. There are two bodies of government in the state of California. There's the Assembly and then there's the Senate. You're running for the Assembly. There are 80 Assembly districts, and there are 40 Senate districts in the state of California.
Correct.
So District 9 is not terribly far where I am right now. I kind of make fun of California. I'm 2 miles east of the Bill Mill. This studio, as you discovered, is literally 2 miles east of the Bill Mill in downtown. But District 9 encompasses basically a third of the city of Sacramento and its southern suburbs. It includes Elk Grove, Florin, Galt, the Parkway area, and then it goes south down towards Stockton, and it includes Lodi in San Joaquin County. So you don't just pick up part of Sacramento, you actually go into another county in your district.
Correct.
Now, the demographics are also interesting because I discovered the demographics skew this way. It's 34% white, about a third of the district, 12.7% black, 26.3% Latino, 22.2% Asian, and 0.85% Native American. And there's some others in there. 1.4% Hawaiian and Pacific Islander. Wow. And I always wondered what this was. 0.27% other. Okay. Now, politically speaking, District 9 is 47% Democrat, 26% Republican, and 22% no party preference. So almost 50% Democrat. Now, I say this so people listening can have an understanding of the nature of the district you'd be representing, an area adjacent and just south of the city of Sacramento and the capital. And when I first discovered who you are and what you were running for, when you, Eric RIGARD, emerged on my radar screen, the very first thing that I thought is, holy hell, this guy is going to run as a Republican against Democrat Jim Cooper, and also where the state senator is Richard Pan.
Exactly.
Who is a story for another day. So, in one way, I have to say this. I feel terribly sorry for you, Eric RIGARD. You're kind of like Sisyphus pushing this massive boulder up the hill. But then I had to back up a little bit and say something like, but on the other hand, it could turn out to be one of the world's greatest challenges. Not just that, but it could be the beginning of potentially an incredibly exciting movement in the history of California. So what I had to adjust my brain was, stop. Give Eric a chance. This could be the cusp of something really brand new and really exciting for the state of California. It's like trying to wrest this state from the ignorant and naive hands of 12-year-old kids who are on a dope, beer, and spending spree with mom and dad's cash is what this is like. So my thought is, okay, well, they've had their chance. Now let's try and give it to the adults in the room. So, Eric RIGARD, let's just say, in my opinion, I think you've got your work cut out for you.
Oh, yes. Everybody I've spoken to has told me that, and I look at it like this. Everybody that I've talked to, well, most people that I've talked to, have been Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And as I kind of give them positions and I talk to them about certain policies and things like that, everybody's shaking their head and they're all with me and everything. And not until the end, when I tell them I'm a Republican, do they kind of gasp a little bit, And then I ask them, I said, is everything that I told you up front, do you believe in everything I talked to you about already? They said, well, yeah, that makes common sense. It makes a lot of sense. I said, judge me on that. Take the R from in front of my name. Judge me on what I talked to you about, because that's what I want to get done. That's what I see is not being done now, and that's what I want to get done. And a lot of them have said, you know what? I've never done this before in my life, but I'm going to vote for you. I've never voted for a Republican, but I'm going to vote for you. I said, there's always a first time. So, bring it on. Let's do it. So,
President Trump once said, what have you got to lose?
Exactly.
And we know from the history of the state of California, we know what has been. We know what is occurring right now. The future, let me submit, is not necessarily etched in the stone that everyone thinks it is.
No.
So this can folks, you can either look at this as the glass empty, or the glass half full. So many people say that California exists as a sort of a cautionary tale unto itself, and can be counted upon basically to be the petri dish for some of the most expensive, inefficient, least thought out, hypocritical, harmful, striating business, killing, and divisive bills and politics in the nation. And I've been here for 60 years on and off, and I've seen a once beautiful state turned into what it is now. And it makes me sad, and it makes me angry at times to see that. So you, Eric RIGARD, are either a glutton for punishment or you're a man with a mission. And I don't believe it's A. I think it's B. And so that's one of the major reasons that I wanted to talk to you tonight. California absolutely needs right now a bright light at the end of the tunnel that's not a locomotive. It absolutely, it's begging for that, I think.
Exactly. I was born in Los Angeles, California. Grew up in Inglewood. Went to UCLA. Met my wife once I moved up north. I was in Daly City, then I was in Oakland. Met her in 1985, and we got married in 86.
And I met her. She's a beautiful lady.
Thank you very much. And then we moved from, say, Martinez, California to Hercules, and then on up to Sacramento in 1998. My daughter, who's now graduating this year from Consumnes Oaks High School, the whole reason we got down to Elk Grove in the first place is I was in El Dorado Hills, and the schools were dealing with the whole transgender how they were going to implement transgender policies and things like that. And I said, no, we're going to move to Elk Grove. You're going to go to Bradshaw Christian School, and that's that. So she went there for middle school. She went the first 2 years of high school, and then we went to Consumnes Oaks. I was just telling my wife maybe about a year ago, I said, when Kayla graduates, we can pack up here and we can go to Texas, go to North Carolina, we can go somewhere where it's more tax friendly, where it's, just a lot easier to live, and I kind of got arrested at that moment. I had been involved in my church for a number of years, done public awareness, and, I ended up praying about it, and I had, not in an audible tone, but I definitely had the Lord, kind of speak and say, no, I need you here because this state needs you. These people need you. and I need you to make it happen. I need you to get involved and make it happen. And I was like, come on, Lord, why are you asking me to do this?
This is California after all.
Yeah, who am I to get this done? He said, you are my child. And, I said that I'm going to be behind you so you can get it done. So I prayed about it, asked my pastor about it, spent a couple of nights really thinking over it. And there were a few ladies that were talking to me at the time who were really trying to encourage me to do this. And decided, I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to get in there and swing the bat. Because you can't hit the ball, you can't participate, you can't make any kind of change unless you're willing to get in the game and get in there and swing a few times and see if you connect. And I'm in the batter's box now, swinging away, and I hit some, I miss some, but I'm hitting a whole lot more than I'm missing. So,
Eric RIGARD, you're running for a Republican candidate for the California Assembly for the 9th District, which, oddly enough, is the district where my wife happens to live. We were talking about that before we started the show. She has an opportunity to vote for you.
Yes.
The sad truth, unfortunately, at this point is the Republicans in this state have been diminished to the point where the mega majority of Democrats, they pretty much rule at will and have their run of that Capitol building. So it should come as no one's shock that this entire state, Business Insider in 2018 or 2019 rated this state 50th, dead last, on the bottom of all states for quality of life.
Yes.
20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, this was a beautiful, beautiful, thriving state. California carries a disproportionate amount of the nation's homeless. Market Watch wrote that over half of the nation's homeless live in California. 4 of the 5 American cities with the greatest number of homeless people are in California. San Francisco, Los Angeles, Santa Rosa, San Jose, and Seattle rounds out the top 5.
Right.
So there are people leaving, and there are good business people leaving, and that means that they're taking good, high-quality tax dollars with them. So would it be accurate to say that, in a way, you are a man on a mission, that you believe that you can have a very serious influence because you've seen what California used to be, what it could be?
Yes. I've got to have some sort of impact, because this state, as a kid, I would go out to the beach and LA has always been crowded. Okay, it's always been impacted in traffic and everything else. But the quality of life in the state, I think, has diminished to the point where the majority of people are not really feeling uplifted in California. They're not feeling like they can partake in what goes on in California. We've already created the have and the have-nots in this state, and that's got to stop. It's got to stop. I definitely saw the promise of California. Both of my parents are from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay.
My stepdad's from Texarkana, Texas. They all came out to California like in the early 50s. So there was a promise in California back then. You make it to California, you can knock it down. You can make it.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And that's no longer the case. Not when you've got employees that work at Google staying out on the lawn at Google in motorhomes because they can't afford any houses anywhere around where Google's at. That doesn't compute, They're just so homelessness you brought up is huge, and I think there are 3 things with homelessness. I think there are some people that are just down and out, maybe they might even be working, living in their cars. They could pay the rent each month, but they don't have enough to get a first and last to be able to get into a place.
Right.
they need a hand up. They need something. They need a program. They need some housing. They need something to help get them into a place so that they can move on and be productive. Whether it's affordable housing for them or whether it's just helping them to get into some housing. Those people need some help. The second are mentally ill. We've got a huge mental illness crisis in the state, and in a state that wants to take 15 cents extra for gas tax and stuff like that. Why can't they use that money and have some mental illness centers around where people can get treatment? If they got the treatment they needed, my uncle is a perfect example. My uncle used to go to Camarillo State Hospital in Southern California. And when he talked to his doctors and when he went there, got his meds, everything was great. He was always on top of his game. The second that he stopped going there, the second that those were closed, second that wasn't available to him, you'd find him on a bus stop somewhere in Los Angeles, and it would be in a different spot all the time, but that's where he would be. So those people, they just need help. They need somebody to treat. They need treatment. The third are drug users, and in particular with me, intravenous drugs. We're going to make clean sites to shoot up and stuff like that. What are you talking about? Clean sites for them to shoot up, still leave their needles on the ground and stuff like that. But anybody that's on drugs, that's on the street like that, I think needs to be given one of two choices. And I know it's harsh. I know it sounds almost kind of crude. Treatment should be available to them. They need to be able to go into a program, number one. Or they go to jail. But see, offering them treatment now doesn't work because you can't take them and throw them in jail. Okay, they've kind of handcuffed.
You've got DAs that won't even prosecute.
Yeah, they've got the police handcuffed. They can't bring a case and have it stick, So now you have those people on the street. They have to have. I think you have to have the treatment, and you have to have a deterrent. You got to have either you go to jail or you go to treatment. One of the two.
What we know right now is that what California is doing, and I spoke to you about this before we started the show, California, what it's doing right now isn't working.
No.
So like President Trump said, hey, vote for me. What else have you got? You don't have anything else to lose.
Exactly.
Vote for Eric RIGARD, folks.
There you go.
You see what's happening right now. Okay, here's a perfect example. This is just one. I have a ton of these. So there's a Chinese restaurant around the corner from my wife's house in South Sacramento.
Gotcha.
And it closed 2 weeks ago. And they had great food, a great atmosphere, and they had great service, and they were local. They were close, and we used to like to go to them and support them because they were local as best we could with our dollars. Mm-hmm. And so then the restaurant shutters. Then the woman, I talked to her, and she says she couldn't afford the rent, couldn't afford more customers, couldn't attract more customers, and couldn't deal with any more of the crime and the so-called homeless in the span, and then all of a sudden, boom, in the span of 2 days, she's gone.
Exactly.
So then you've taken somebody who tried to make it work, couldn't make it work, cute little restaurant, threw all of her cash and all of her time into it. It was beautiful inside.
Yep.
Great food service, et cetera, as I indicated. And now she's said herself, this is a personal thing for me. She's gone. I can't make it. I can't do it here anymore. And I'm not getting any help.
Yeah.
I also told you when my wife retires, we're leaving California. I've been here, on and off for 60 plus years. And I'm hoping tonight, Eric RIGARD, you can convince the people that are going to be here, that are staying, to vote for you. And that election, folks, in case you don't know, March 3rd is the primary. So if you haven't already gotten your ballots and you want to vote, make sure you go out, get your ballots, find out, read it carefully, cautiously. Eric RIGARD is running as Republican candidate for Assembly District in District 9. This is the guy that you need to to vote for. And by the way, like I said, I put my mouth and my money where my mouth is, and I gave you $100 today because I want to see you win.
I appreciate that.
So let's start at the start. You said you talked about a few things. Where did you say you were born again?
I was born in L.A.
Okay.
I was born at Queen of Angels Hospital in Los Angeles. I grew up in my elementary, middle school, high school years in Inglewood, California. Moved to Inglewood in 1966, and I graduated in 1975. In that short span of time, everybody talks about white flight. That area had 5 black families that lived in a I don't know how large. It's a pretty big area. It's from Crenshaw Boulevard to Van Ness, which is, you have avenues, 8 avenues in between there, and then from Century Boulevard, 2 big streets over to Arbor Vitae. 5 black families. When I graduated from high school, there were 5 white families in that same area. It's crazy. About 5 years later, I went back, and the whole area, the whole city, seemed like we had annexed a part of Mexico or something, and it was in there. So it has really flipped over several times. Now, with the new football stadium and the racetrack, everything is kind of being gentrified and built up around there now. So it's changing again, that whole area. So, change is necessary and change is good, but change is how there's some change that's not really great, and I think that's how we got to where we're at today. We've made several small little concessions. We're walking down a line in California many years ago, walking straight up the middle of the street, and we started making little compromises. Well, yeah, I could do that. I can move, and you move 1 step at a time to your right. And the next thing you know, you're on the whole opposite side of the street, looking back, saying, how did we get here? And the only way it's going to happen is by us taking 1 step at a time and moving it back in the opposite direction. It's going to have to be incremental. We can't, it's a Titanic-sized ship. We can't turn this thing around in one fell swoop.
Oh, no, it's huge.
Yeah, because it's too big. But we can make those changes if we have principled people that are involved in the State House, and there's got to be a standard that's held up that says, this is right, this is wrong, and this I want to represent what's right, and have that be my legacy, I think if I do that, and if I take a step at a time, I can bring somebody with me a step at a time. I can't necessarily drag them across the street with me, but I can take them 1 step at a time, and we can walk this thing back to where it's supposed to be.
Eric RIGARD, I'm talking to Eric RIGARD, folks, who is a Republican running for California State Assembly in District 9. I know, everybody, take a breath, take a deep breath, have a seat. A Republican in California running for office. I know, stop with the jokes. He's dead serious, and as I said at the beginning of the show, either he's Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill, or he's right on the brink of starting something really important, really new, right here and right now. We're going to take a break in about 30 seconds or so. When we come back, I want to ask Eric RIGARD, religion seems to have influenced you or informed your life. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit when we return. We're going to have Eric on for the hour. I am BZ, the Bloviating Zeppelin. You're listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. And, go to the electric winkle chamber or nuke your pizza or clean your fish tank or balance your checkbook, whatever you got to do in the next 5 minutes. And please come back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunetz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunetz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian sackheads Clint, plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty voided Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and we are back. Welcome back to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. You can follow me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. Like me and follow me on Facebook on my page, Bloviating Zeppelin. Friend, like, and follow the SHR Media Facebook page. Subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel. Hey, are you a supporter of the Second Amendment? Then you might want to join the U.S. Gun Owners Association, the USGOA, on Facebook. And tonight, I have the distinct pleasure of speaking to Eric RIGARD, and he is a Republican candidate, a Sisyphean candidate pushing the proverbial political boulder up the hill. But I think I sense that there's something really, really seriously good in the future for California if we can get more candidates like Eric RIGARD. I threw $100 at him. You can do the very same thing, too. Let me mention this right now. Go to RIGARD, RIGARD, RIGARD for Assembly, all one long word, RIGARD for Assembly, RIGARD.com. And at the top, you can see it says Home about Eric RIGARD around the community, 9th Assembly District, and donate. I did that today. You can do that as well. I know you have the ability. I saw your hand moving. I know it's reaching towards the mouse right now. I can see it. I can do it. Before the break, I told Eric RIGARD that I wanted to talk to him about how religion may inform his history, his past, his present, and his future. So, Eric RIGARD, in what fashion has religion sustained you? How does it work in your life?
Well, I will say this: when I grew up a Catholic kid. I was an altar boy. I knew which priest wanted how much wine and how much water in the chalice and the whole deal. So I was used to that. But I was about 12 years old, and I had one question that I asked a priest. I said, okay, I see in the Bible here it says that you're supposed to repent and be baptized. As simple as that. I said, how can this little baby that you sprinkle water on top of him, how can he repent for anything? I said, he can't even talk. You know, they said, oh, patted me on the head. Oh, son, you just come to church and listen to me and blah, blah, blah. And I felt really, I didn't know what patronized was at the time, but that's how I felt.
Right.
And I said, okay. I said, Johnny, where do you go to church? I'm coming with you next Sunday. And where do you go? I'm going with you next. So I visited these various churches around. And
how old were you?
I was 12 years old.
That's a brilliant idea. What 12-year-old decides at that age that they're going to immerse themselves in all the different branches of religion that are available to them in their neighborhood?
Exactly. So I just started going and got to a place where there was a neighborhood church right on the corner. Crenshaw Christian Church is what it was called, which eventually became Crenshaw Christian Center, which they've now moved out to Pepperdine campus in L.A. and have the Faith Dome there. And that's really where I began. I was taught what's termed as the Word of Faith movement, but it was more relationship. It wasn't about religion so much as it was a relationship with God, a relationship with Jesus Christ. And that really changed me and changed who I am. Now, I've been here in Sacramento. Even before I came up here, we've been coming to Calvary Christian Center since 1986, about 33 years now.
Is that the one you can see off 99?
No, that's over in the North Sacramento, off of Del Paso Boulevard.
Okay, right.
And so yeah, it's right there, and I've been going there ever since. And I feel as though I know how to come in and come out and move around. How to function as a Christian, basically. That has informed everything that I do. People get very judgmental within the church, and they say, "Oh, that person is doing blah blah blah. I can't be around them." No, I can be around them because I was a sinner as well. So I can be around you. I don't have to like the sin, but I'm instructed where I've got to love you. So I have to love them. I got to look beyond that and love the person and always work to build and develop a relationship with the person, and do things that are going to draw them closer to Christ, basically.
And so what you're doing is essentially, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're using that motivation, I guess, to motivate you to throw your hat in the ring for California Assembly here in District 9. Well, not right here because I'm in downtown Sacramento, or East Sacramento right now.
Right.
But your District 9 area.
Correct.
You have you have the incumbent to deal with, Jim Cooper. We'll talk about him in a moment. You also have, I think there are two other persons, and I'm going to have to look for their names here, who are vying for the spot in the March 3rd primary. There's Tracy Stafford, who is a Democrat. Oh, correct. That's a shocker. And I'm going to have to pronounce this carefully. Mushtaq Tahirkali, who is a Democrat too. And that's another shocker. I hope everybody's sitting down who's listening right now. Is there anything that you happen to know about those two individuals and what you kind of have to... How are you going to tailor, if you have to, your campaign to some of the things that they may be offering, air quotes?
I don't know a tremendous amount about either of those two, other than I believe it's Tracy. One of them is definitely a progressive Democrat.
Okay.
And everybody that knows her, knows of her, that's what they've all said. I don't know for a fact, but that's what they say. I know that Jim Cooper models himself to be a moderate Democrat.
Okay.
I've been kind of researching and looking at his record, at his voting record and things of that nature during this last few weeks. And the more I read about him and the more that I see, like just today, Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association gave Jim Cooper a big fat F for his ability as a legislator this last year. And it said, he is a tax and spend guy, that sort of thing. So there's some things that are just those. I've gotten those little clips, but I've also seen that he co-sponsored the sanctuary state law that's here in the state of California. That a sanctuary for whom? Not for the people who live here, but people who are coming. You want to protect them more so than the people who are already here? That rubbed me the wrong way. So
it's on its base, fundamentally, it's wrong.
Yes.
I'm looking at your Meet the Candidate statement. One thing that you specifically said is you found Assemblyman Jim Cooper often abstained from voting, perhaps to avoid being held accountable for the progressive approach to policy now in play in Sacramento.
Yeah, I saw a number of votes. I went down the record and saw everywhere that he voted, and a number of them were, where he abstained from voting, where he voted yes, voted no on things, but a lot of them abstained from voting. I just feel like, how could you be held accountable if you're not going to take a vote on it, if you're not going to take a stand? And that kind of pulls back to the my foundation as a Christian as well. We have been eradicated from the public square under the guise of separation of church and state. Well, that whole thing was so that the church would not establish itself as any government, as any sort.
Like originally the Church of England.
Exactly. So, no, that was never to be done. But the founders of this country never had in mind that you were supposed to exclude religion from the square, exclude God from the. We've got it on our money, we've got it on mottos of the country, we've got it everywhere.
We've got it in our Senate in D.C., in our House in D.C.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere, and it's inextricable. You can't pull it away. So I think that here in California, especially, I think we need to reintroduce God back into the public square, and by doing that, I think people will begin to question decisions they make by, okay, is this going to be pleasing to God, number one? Is this going to be something that his people can live and thrive under? And just to be good to the people that are around you. There's some things that you just got to do, and you got to hold up a standard and say, okay, I'm not going to cross this line and go over there. I'm going to hold this up and do it the right way.
To paraphrase, would it be appropriate of me to say that number one, as opposed to Jim Cooper, you're going to be there.
Exactly.
You're going to show up. And number two, as opposed to Jim Cooper, you are who you are. You're not trying to feign something else. You're not trying to avoid something. You either are accepting of you know what your philosophies, mores, and morals are.
Yes.
And your job is not attempting to please. And this sounds so terrible, and, slap me if I'm wrong, but you cannot be, as one individual, everything to all people.
That is exactly.
You must be who you are and no one else, yet you're not hiding behind some kind of disguise, trying to please every individual, far left, far right. That just... Am I in the ballpark on that, Eric RIGARD?
You're all over it. I'm going to be... I told people last week, I talked to about a few different groups, and I told each and every one of them, I'm going to say what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it. I'm not going to tell you one thing and do something else. If I believe in something, if I believe this is the right thing to do, I'm going to tell you I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to come and do it. So you can hold me accountable to it. If you want to, you want to whip me because of it, whip me. If you want to applaud me because of it, applaud me. But I'm going to do what I'm telling you I'm going to do.
This is sort of a massive open-ended question, Eric RIGARD. And folks, Eric RIGARD is running for as a Republican candidate for California Assembly in District 9, which is essentially an area south of Sacramento to include Elk Grove, Galt, and then down to Lodi in San Joaquin County as well. So it's it's a very diverse district. And it's also a fairly large district and a fairly significant district in California. So having said that, this is a massive open-ended question. What do you think are the biggest issues for District 9 that people will ask you to address?
There are a few things. In education, Elk Grove schools have been known to be in the past the good schools.
They were known to be the finest for a while.
Yeah,
the finest. People wanted to move to Elk Grove for the schools.
Exactly. So they've been known for that. Nowadays, everything that you see promoted in the school district, what I get at home from my daughter, is LGBTQ Day and Awareness Day and stuff like that. Well, they're Asian kids, they don't have an Asian Awareness Day. They're black kids, they don't have a Black Awareness Day. But LGBTQ, we're going to make sure they've gotten awareness. It seems just a little bit out of balance, okay? That's a little out of balance. So I think for kids, they need, number one, school choice. Every school, no matter how good it is or no matter how bad it is, every school is not for every kid, okay? Homeschooling, there's some great homeschools. Charter schools, there's some great charter schools. Private schools, there's some great private schools, and there are a couple different companies that will help to defray the cost so that you can afford to send your kid to private school. So there's some different choices around, and I think they need to be amplified so people know that they're available. Because what I really see happening as the state of California wrestles more control and power away from parents.
Oh boy, did you hit that one.
Parents are going to go walk in the school district and they're going to start pulling their kids out en masse, I believe. They're going to, and if it's not en masse, it's going to be one or two, but they're going to look around and their population is going to dwindle quite a bit after several years. Parents don't want to be told what to do. They want to have an active role in how kids are going to be taught, what they're going to be taught. And the more school districts used to always talk about, well, parents aren't involved, or we need more parental involvement. We need parents to come out. And they go to those private schools and they support them over there, but they just dump them on us over here. No, you've been excluding parents for too long. And so now that you've got your hand up and pushing them back and you don't have parents there, you're like, well, what are we doing here? We don't have parent participation. Well, you did it. You pushed them off. We need parents to be informed. There was a bill last week, SB 673. It was all about informed choice for kindergarten through sixth graders, okay? Just sex education within the school districts. Junior high school and high schoolers, they have an opt-out clause. Not a problem. They're old enough. If you're interested enough, you go to the school district, you read on the curriculum, and you can opt your kid out or leave them in whatever you choose. Not a problem. K through 6, the people that were there, we feel that you should have an active opt-in so that you present the parents via email or text message or whatever what the curriculum is. They get a chance to read that, and then they have to click to opt their kid into that class.
See, and as we talked on the break, that's very cagey. But I also submit that's, well, what's your opinion? I think that's incredibly purposeful. So the person that's not aware of that, if you do nothing,
exactly,
your child belongs to them. You have to know about that.
Exactly.
In order to object. And if you don't know, oh, well, that's okay.
And this would force them to let you know. So before your kid can participate in that, then you give the okay for that.
Right. It's something active.
Exactly. That's the whole purpose in it is for active parental involvement in what goes on with the children.
This is something funny, and I'd like to, folks, I'm talking to Eric RIGARD, and he is a Republican running for California Assembly of the 9th District, which is basically South Sacramento, and Sacramento, of course, being the capital of California. On the show about 2 months ago, I had Andrew Pollack, and I don't know if that name resonates for you, but his daughter Meadow was killed in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting. And essentially what he said is that even though allegedly that was in a good school district, air quotes, that he didn't know what was happening in that school. And he lays blame, of course, on the shooter who murdered his daughter, but he also lays blame, a 50 percentile blame, on the administration of the school district for allowing the situation that brewed that killer to fester and remain unchecked. And what you just gave there is illustrative of this is how California is rolling. This is how California needs to stop its roll doing that. And allow the philosophy, as Andrew Pollack told me, was that the administrators know everything, the teachers know nothing, and the parents sure as hell know nothing.
Exactly.
And hence, you have an unchecked suspect, and that results in 17 people being killed in Florida.
Yeah.
We don't need that here. We don't want that here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm afraid that in almost every school district in California, public school district, there's a situation or an individual like that brewing right now.
It is by the grace of God that hasn't happened here in this state, especially with the population of some of the schools that we have. They've got 2,500, 3,000, 3,500 kids in a school. It is totally by His grace that has not happened yet in this state. You asked me about the issues that I'm three of the issues that involved. Let's say schools are one. Another huge one that people really don't think about is senior housing. The population is aging.
It's graying.
Yeah, the population is aging. And when you go and look in Elk Grove now, they have some beautiful senior places that are built and set up.
I've seen them.
Beautiful.
On Elk Grove Boulevard, Laguna, you bet.
There's a new one that's on Sheldon, I think, right off of Sheldon and 99. The starting price per month.
Here we go.
For a one-bedroom apartment.
Here we go.
Is $4,000. Now, that's for the apartment and 2 meals a day. That's one. If you take it up another level where you have like a nurse come through and take care of your
right,
aging
like
parents
skilled
or
nursing
something.
in some
Yeah,
fashion.
Exactly. Then it jumps up to $5,600. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're a senior citizen. You can go to the movie theater and get a discount. You go to your grandchild's basketball game, get a discount. You can go to Denny's, get a discount. Why does your housing have to cost you more than the average person living in that city? Why? Because it's insane. And one of the area, I talked to the building association earlier today. Before they can build a house, basically, they've got $60,000-$70,000 worth of fees and regulations, things that they're paying for before they put one beam in.
Yes.
And what do they do with that money? They just pass it on to the consumer. Okay, so a house that should probably be about $325,000 is costing them $400,000 and up. So it's we as a state have got to get out of this super overregulated onerous fees and that's killing business.
Bingo.
It's killing business, it's killing people's it's smothering us in terms of being able to live within the state. That's really the problem. So senior housing, we got to work on getting it down. It's got to come down. As I moved south and I got to Lodi, one of the issues, I talked to the Farm Bureau down there. Well, water has always been an issue for them. Massive issue. And we end up we waste more water sending it out to the ocean than we do storing that water. We've already got a bond issue passed. There should have been a dam built already and a water storage facility built, but it's held up in red tape and stuff like. We need that red tape has got to move. It's got to get out of the way, and we've got to build the storage facilities. Plus, we need to better manage the water that we do have. They want to keep us in a perpetual state of being in a drought and hold that over your head forever. And we've got more than enough water during these last couple of years for sure. Then we can do it. We couldn't use it all. So,
folks, if you're watching, as Eric RIGARD was talking, that was me bristling over here. And there's a very good reason for me bristling over here is because I am affected personally by that.
Yeah.
California no longer knows how to run infrastructure at all. California wants to go electric, but is tacitly, completely, and overtly making sure that we do not build electric generation stations,
yes,
that we do not build dams, that we do not build flumes, that we do not create power projects that are sustainable power projects. Because if the future is electric, we're not interested. Or are we just going to have 1 million pedal bicycles out in a field with 13-year-olds pedaling bicycles to make sure that we can generate power in California? It's insane. Then, even if we do have power, folks, I live up at the 4,000-foot level in the Sierra Nevada mountains.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just below Blue Canyon. I'm under PG&E. As far as I'm concerned, folks, listen, this is my opinion, please. PG&E is a murderous entity that is responsible for killing 87 California citizens. This upsets me.
Yes.
We've seen the forests deteriorate before our eyes. California has removed any kind of deforestation. I can take you to areas in the California mountains, and I know this has nothing to do with District 9, but it does overall in terms
yes,
of the insanity of California.
Yes.
This insanity, Eric RIGARD, this insanity has got to stop.
It's got to stop. It's got to stop. You're 100% right with the deforestation and things like that. We don't. I mean, I mentioned managing our water and our water supply.
We used to have forest management in the 60s.
Yeah, exactly.
We used to have controlled burns. I can take you to places in the forest where the loam is 2 to 3 feet thick. That's called, on the fire triangle, that's called fuel. It's just insane. Okay,
exactly.
Enough. I'm done ranting.
No, that's a perfectly legitimate rant because we do not manage. We're paying a lot of money for different organizations and different groups. And
I'm paying extra money to live up there, sure.
Yeah, I mean, all of the bureaucracy that's involved, but what are they getting done? Nothing. The forests need to be cleared out and cleaned. And if we just did that,
you can't log dead trees.
Yeah, if we just took care of that,
do the obvious.
It would take care of so much. Once again, hydroelectric power has been around for a long time with dams and things like that. Why can't we do more of that? Why do we have to have windmills that have not shown a real return on investment, or you've got to take up twice as much area to get a quarter of the energy out of it as putting in a dam? You have the hydroelectric power, boom, you're good to go.
And it's simple.
That's
not even talking nuclear power. That's not even talking thorium. Oh my God, that's a topic for another day, folks. We're talking to Eric RIGARD, and we're going to have to take a break. Eric, do you need to jam, or can you hang around for another 5 to 10 minutes or so?
No, I can hang around for a little while longer.
Alrighty, folks, we're going to take a break. Eric RIGARD is here with me live in the studio tonight. We're talking about his candidacy. He's a Republican candidate for California Assembly in the 9th District, which is Elk Grove, Galt, South Sacramento, and then down to San Joaquin County and Lodi. I am BZ. I am the Bloviating Zeppelin. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, and we'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America, one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, Because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian sackheads Clint plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty void in Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are in the second hour already. Welcome back to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. You can follow me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. Like me and follow me on my Facebook page, Bloviating Zeppelin. Please support us at the SHR Media Facebook page and on the SHR Media YouTube channel. Click notifications. Give our videos a big thumbs up. We got great hosts, great videos, great shows. And if you are a supporter of the Second Amendment, please come and join the U.S. Gun Owners Association on Facebook, the USGOA. Tonight, we have the distinct pleasure of speaking to Eric RIGARD, who is a Republican in California, running for the California Assembly in 9th District. So before you gulp and take a, if you're drinking a carbonated beverage, before you do that, sit down. Yes, he's a real Republican in California. And yes, you need to vote for him. And yes, I made sure that I donated $100 to him today. Eric RIGARD, Republican candidate for California State Assembly in District 9. Right off the top of your head, what do you think is going to be your greatest challenge for getting elected? Is it as obvious as we think, or are there other issues that you have to contend with?
I think that the obvious is definitely a big one because of the disproportionate number of Democrats that are there. But the more that I speak to people, and the more that I talk to them, and the more that I explain what it is that I like, I don't like, I want to do, and I see that's being done wrong, the more agreement I get. So I don't think, if I can just reach them, I don't think I'll have a hard time turning them or conveying, give me a shot. What do you have to lose? Give it a shot and see. I believe that I will be a better representative to the people of that area, of Elk Grove, of South Sac, of Galt, of Lodi, than the incumbent will be, or currently is. And that's really the big thing. You want somebody there that hears what you have to say and acts on it. Then you really only have one choice, and that's going to be me. There are other candidates that are running as well, but everybody's from the same ilk, okay? And I'm the only one that's running over here saying, it can't be business as usual.
Because look where we are now.
Exactly. It's got to be different. It's got to be different.
Okay, Eric RIGARD. I put the phone number. Darn, I forgot to put the phone number in chat in the first hour, and I forgot to give the phone number. So, folks, if you want to call Eric RIGARD, he has said that he will take phone calls. The number is 575-208-4481. 575-208-4481. And I hate hosts that mention the phone number only once, so I'll say it again, 575-208-4481. And we do have someone on the line. I think this is Kaiser. Are you there, sir? Do you have a question for Eric RIGARD? Okay. And Why am I not getting anything? Kaiser, are you there, sir? Okay. Phone issues. All right. A good host knows when to move on.
There you go.
And so I'll do exactly that. Kaiser, one more time. Are you there? Okay. All right. Anyway, moving right along. You get elected, Eric RIGARD. It's your first day on the job, your first hour, your first week, maybe your first month. In your estimation, what do you think is job one for you now?
I really think that it boils down to be as simple as to really hear the heart of the people in Elk Grove and South Sac and Galt and Lodi, hear what they've been yearning for, and begin to address those items. Everything else, it can change and will change. It's going to have to change incrementally, I believe, but I will start making those changes day one. But I really want to hear and want to address what the people have been yearning for and what they really want. I know for a fact in talking to several different groups down in Lodi that it's around the farming community and their needs. They're over-regulated with pesticide regulation and that sort of thing, the water issues. So there's some concrete things there that I can deal with. I do know that getting involved deeper into the schools, and I can do so much from the state of California, but what I would really put out as a clarion call to everybody else that's in Elk Grove, if you're interested in making a change in the schools, then run for the school board, run for the school district, get in at that local level, and you can have a voice and you can make a change in what happens there. But I would work hand in hand with them also to bring about some changes there. Ultimately, I'd work with the builders, developers, the city, everybody to bring about some stinking senior housing that's affordable. Those things I'm going to jump on immediately. And as other items come to my attention and come up that I become aware of and that I am aware of, then I'll begin to work on those items as well.
Okay, I've worked out Plan B, Eric RIGARD, for the phone. So I think honest to goodness, I think we do have a caller. We'll try it this time. Kaiser, are you there in this fashion, sir?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, BZ?
Yes, wonderful. Oh my gosh, this is great technology that actually works on my show. I appreciate it. So does
no
Eric.
worries, BZ.
What do you got, Kaiser?
Yeah, no, Eric, I'm loving the show. Like I was saying earlier, it's kind of sad that when I was there in the 80s in California, stationed there in Pendleton, Camp Pendleton,
right?
We used to call California the granola state, fruits, flakes, and nuts. But there was still that backbone of conservatism that California had, even though it was getting watered down by like Gray Davis.
Yes.
And it seems like they've totally went off the rails to somebody who no longer is around there. And the saddest part that I see, I don't know your thoughts on it, but I'd love to hear them, is, and I love that you're taking stride and looking at this issue, are the older people that built California into the great state it is, and taking care of them, because they are the ones who gave the infrastructure to California for them to piss it away now. And they need to at least take care of them so they're comfortable in their old age while California goes down the shitter. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I'm totally with you. That's why I mentioned, senior citizens everywhere in other cultures, in other areas, are revered, are looked up to, we look to them for wisdom, for knowledge, for just to glean some information from. But here, it seems like we're trying to treat them as though they're disposable. There are no disposable people. There are people that are here that have taken care of, that have built this place to what it is, to where it has, what it's become, and we just can't drop them off the side of the ship. So much of what's happening now, especially with housing and stuff like that, we're actually pricing seniors out of the areas that they've always lived in. If they've always lived in Elk Grove, we're telling them basically, go find someplace else to live. Somebody else is going to come in here and occupy the space that you are in. That is absolutely wrong.
It's fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
On every level you can think of.
It is totally wrong, and we've got to that has got to be turned around. That has got to be turned around.
Kaiser,
It's unacceptable, and I don't understand what mental disorder has taken over there to where they think that, I guess they want to be annexed by Mexico. I don't know. And China. China's willing to take them. So that's all I had to say. This is just, I'm heartened to see you run. I hope you get it. And
thank you.
The only suggestion I would say is be green, and the way I mean that is pull out that dead wood. Stop those wildfires. You know, California could be a great state, and build more storage for water. It's only common sense. If you're going to let everybody come in, store more water.
Exactly.
God bless, be well, be safe. Thanks, BZ.
Thank you, Kaiser. Thanks for the call. That's the thing, Eric Rigard, that makes absolutely no sense to me. At a time when California is embracing everybody but the California citizens themselves, they're absolutely completely uninterested in infrastructure or building anything to accommodate the people that they're endorsing and saying, come in, we need more of you. California, you can't handle the people you have now. The ISO, the Independent Systems Operator in Folsom, California, that controls all the electricity in California, and they decide when we import more electricity from other places.
Yes.
There's no common sense, Eric Rigard. We need common sense.
I placed a guy at the ISO several years ago. I was in IT, and I was placing executives there. So, I know that all too well. We've got to, we're taxed for everything, and they'll find new ways to tax you. We really don't need an additional gas tax in California for the roads.
Well, and they didn't use it for the roads.
Exactly.
They appropriated the monies
exactly
into social programs.
Exactly. They have always taken funds and placed them, appropriated them and put them in piles other than what they were originally designed for. So you've deceived the people by putting a proposition up where they vote on it. And they vote to say, well, okay, we'll do the extra 15 cents and we'll do that, and it'll go towards the roads. Well,
no, it won't.
What's happened on the roads?
It won't.
Exactly. So that's one way. It's a matter of, well, we can spend the money. All we need to do is find a new way to get it. So let's find a new fee, a new something that we can charge you to get that money.
And here it is. Come November, the recension of Proposition 13. One of the few things that we enjoy in the state of California back in the 70s, we passed Proposition 13, which reduced property taxes, and we've enjoyed reduced property taxes for many, many years so far.
Yes.
That's a great source of revenue that now the state of California, spell it with a K, has decided that they're going to tap. Exactly. And so all you're going to do is end up driving the people that are here, again, as you say, Eric Rigard, they're going to go someplace else.
They're going to drive them out.
Because they can't afford to live here anymore.
No.
It just
we're overtaxed and underrepresented because nobody wants to check the spending and see where they can cut some money, where they can save it. They just want to keep spending it. And if they can find a new way to get some money from you, they'll spend that too. And we'll be in the same position 10 years from now than we are today. We've got to change it so that what's appropriated goes exactly what it was designed for. If we could just start there, we'd be operating a whole lot better with our infrastructure and whatnot. But we don't even do that.
What a first wonderful step that would be. Eric Rigard, Republican candidate for California State Assembly in District 9. People need to vote for you, but in your own words, why do people need to vote for you? And the primary is March 3rd, folks. So Eric Rigard, March 3rd, the California primary. Vote for him. Take it away, sir.
Well, I would ask people, and I have asked people several times, are you represented? Do you feel as though the assembly person that you have in place right now hears you, listens to you, does anything for you? And if you can't answer all those as yes, yes, and yes, then you need to change. And you need to change to somebody who's going to do what they say what they're going to do, and who's going to be beholden to you, the people, and not beholden to some lobbyist or to some company that comes in and greases their pockets a little bit, but is beholden to you, gets you what you need. And I pledge to do that. I may not know everything that there is to know right now today about government, but I do know that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I follow through with the things I say I'm going to do, then you can bank on the fact that I'm going to take care of you and what your needs are.
Eric RIGARD, Republican candidate for California State Assembly in District 9. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you tonight. You have handled some tough questions, but I think people have gotten to know you much better. If people want to know more about you or donate to your campaign or become a volunteer, where should they go, sir?
They should go to RIGARD, that's RIGARD, for Assembly. That's all spelled out in one word, .com. RIGARDforassembly.com. You can go there, learn more about me. We're changing the site, updating it with pictures as I go out and talk to people and things like that. But there's always, right on the front page, there are three big buttons. There's donate, there's endorse, and there's support. You can go on to support to help walk a precinct, put up posters, things like that. You can endorse me, just endorse the candidacy. And I will never turn down a donation. As a matter of fact, I need your donation. So you go there and press the button, and I will be eternally grateful to you. And that way it'll help to push me on further to get to the Sacramento, to Capitol in Sacramento, so I can make the changes that need to be made.
Eric RIGARD, again, thank you so kindly for your time taken with me tonight in the saloon. And I told this to you over the break, but I'm going to tell people over the air. I told Leo Dunson last week when I was talking to him from Nevada, I said, Leo, if you win your candidacy for the 4th district, the congressional district in Nevada, you got to come back on the show. So I'm making the same thing with you, Eric. When you win for District 9 in California Assembly, you have an open invitation. You got to come back on the show.
I will definitely be here.
Thank you, sir. So, Eric RIGARD, I appreciate your time. Folks, we're going to take a break. Come back. I'm going to have some really interesting audio cuts. We're going to talk about Brexit. We're going to talk about why leftists essentially have massive disdain for you. I'm going to be playing a Don Lemon cut about that will be quite illustrative of that, and more buttery political goodness than you can shake a stuffed bobcat at. Okay, so Eric RIGARD, again, thank you, sir. Thanks for bringing your beautiful wife, Jackie, tonight. God bless. Take care and be safe, sir.
All right, thank you.
Whew. That was a great interview, I believe. We are going to take a break a little earlier than normal. Gone for about 5 minutes. Hey, it's time to use the restroom. Hey, ice cream. You know where the ice cream is. Go in the freezer and get it. Now's a perfect time. We'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunetz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Shannon Wright of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Mike's not here, so I gotta talk fast. You gotta join us. Fall season. Getting ready to start up with a whole bunch of new stuff. News and food and politics and sports and entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. But wait, Mike's coming. I gotta go. Remember, Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media, Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you tune in.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
Join me, Jack Alexander, for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the issues affecting the USA. I fearlessly take on the issues that everyone else is too scared to touch. The Jack Alexander Experiment podcast is available wherever good podcasts can be found, like Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. The Jack Alexander Experiment, because it's not a matter of left versus right, it's a matter of right versus wrong.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Featuring the effervescent contrarian sackheads Clint plus the unrestrained bulbosity of BZ, the Sackheads Against Tyranny is a real chat show. Doubling your late-night conservative talk show pleasure with double the hosts, you can listen every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Please note, some contents may have settled during shipping. Member FDIC, batteries not included, warranty voided Montenegro.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. An hour and a half has gone boom, just like that. So, hey, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel, and if you're a fan of the Second Amendment, join the United States Gun Owners Association on Facebook. On Facebook. Okay, I got to tell you this. This happened to me today, and I want to know if anything similar to this has occurred to you guys. I've never had it happen before, and I'm wondering why. And that's this. Oh, by the way, we're going to hear Nigel Farage's great final speech. This is his final speech at the European Parliament ahead of the Brexit vote. So if you don't know, and the times are all mixed up, obviously, because it's 9:30 on the left coast, and it's 1230 on the east coast, and it's 1723 and 125.723. Subparagraph 4, Tropical Fish 2, Green Bay 1, and Oakland 0. Growth Cluster 3 in Bolivian time. And I just never got the Bolivian time thing. I just don't understand that at all about Bolivian time. But I guess I'm never meant to in any event. This happened to be on Facebook. Okay, so I'm posting on Facebook in groups promos for the show today. What I customarily do is I'll have a photograph of the guest, a photograph of me, a descriptor of what the people are going to see. Oh, thanks, Dave. It's 5:30 in the UK right now. Thank you. Is that AM or PM? In any event, I make a post in my page, Biff Zeppi, on Facebook, and then I repost in groups. And then I'll go back to SHR Media and copy and paste and all the other. I'm on MeWe and Parler and Snippy and Snappy and Snoopy and Whoopy and Groupie and Gab. And so I go back and I do all that stuff, okay? Today, now I customarily post my show to probably 20 groups. Just kind of depends about the topic. And do these groups want to hear about what it is that I'm going to be talking about or the guest that I have? Today, Facebook sent me a message. I got to 10 groups. And Facebook said, sorry, your groups are done. You're not posting to any more groups. Really? I have never had that happen before. So I told that to Eric RIGARD. I said, something unique happened to me today. I posted 10 posts to other groups because I'm a member of a lot of Facebook groups, mostly political in nature. And Facebook said, whoa, your span of influence stops right here today, dude. No more influence for you. We're not having any of it. So I'm wondering, was it because I'm having a black Republican on the air in my studio who was running for California State Assembly in District 9, and we have to make sure that we don't have that option available to voting citizens in California. Always spell it with a K. Oh, yeah, Dave, I do post in Gab, by the way. And so this is the first time that I have ever been told by Facebook that my butt is throttled. No more groups for you, sir. No more groups for you. Now, I make mention of Brexit because something amazing is happening in Brexit. Let's see. Dave says it's 5:30 a.m. in the UK right now. At 11 a.m. today, Brexit becomes official in the UK. And I'm noticing quite significantly that no one is covering that in the United States by way of the American media maggots. But I happen to hear this from Nigel Farage. And Nigel Farage, he's in the European Parliament, and he gets himself cut off. But boy, did he leave him with a very interesting final speech. Nigel.
Thank you, Mr. Farage, for 4 minutes.
Thank you very much. So this is it, the final chapter, the end of the road. A 47-year political experiment that the British, frankly, have never been very happy with. My mother and father signed up to a common market, not to a political union, not to flags, anthems, presidents, and now you even want your own army. For me, it's been 27 years of campaigning and over 20 years...
Okay, did you hear that? Did you grok the concept of what he said? The European Union is not satisfied with the individual armies of the client states. The European Union wanted to start its own army.
...is here in this Parliament. I'm not particularly happy with the agreement we're being asked to vote on tonight, but Boris has been remarkably bold in the last few months, and Ms von der Leyen, he's made it clear.
Okay, let me ask you a question, folks. If you've been following anything at all about what's been going on, the massive leftists, historically PMs, prime ministers in Britain, they've got a guy who is kind of chunky and kind of scatter-haired, blonde-haired, sort of a younger, chunkier version of Donald Trump named Boris Johnson. Do you think he would have gotten in if not for President Trump and sort of this populist movement? The answer is no.
He's promised us there'll be no level playing field. And on that basis, I wish him every success in the next round of negotiations. I really do. But the most significant point is this. What happens at 11 p.m. this Friday, the 31st of January, 2020, marks the point of no return. Once we've left, we are never coming back, and the rest, frankly, is detail. We're going, we will be gone. And that should be the summit of my own political ambitions. I walked in here, as I've said before, you all thought it was terribly funny. You stopped laughing in 2016. But my view has changed of Europe since I joined. In 2005, I saw the constitution that had been drafted by Giscard and others. I saw it rejected by the French in a referendum. I saw it rejected by the Dutch in a referendum. And I saw you in these institutions ignore them, bring it back as the Lisbon Treaty, and boast you could ram it through without there being referendums. Well, the Irish did have a vote and did say no and were forced to vote again. You're very good at making people vote again, but what we've proved is the British are too big to bully, thank goodness. So I became
Okay, so if you're watching the video, there was just a smattering of clapping around Nigel Farage. The rest of the people in the European Parliament had very dour and glum looks on their face, and there were a lot of them.
An outright opponent of the entire European project. I want Brexit to start a debate across the rest of Europe. What do we want from Europe? If we want trade, friendship, cooperation, reciprocity, we don't need a European Commission. We don't need a European Court. We don't need these institutions and all of this power. And I can promise you, both in UKIP and indeed in the Brexit Party, we love Europe. We just hate the European Union. It's as simple as that. So I'm hoping...
Oh, stop. It's too bad you can't see the video. OMG, if looks could kill.
I'm hoping this begins the end of this project. It's a bad project. It isn't just undemocratic, it's anti-democratic, and it puts in that front row. It gives people power without accountability. People who cannot be held to account by the electorate. And that is an unacceptable structure. Indeed, there's an historic battle going on now across the West, in Europe, America, and elsewhere. It is globalism against populism. And you may loathe populism, but I tell you a funny thing, it's becoming very popular. And it has great benefits. No more financial contributions, no more European Court of Justice, no more common fisheries policy, no more being talked down to, no more being bullied, no more Guy Verhofstadt. I mean, what's not to like? I know you're going to miss us.
What's not to
I know
like?
You want to ban our national flags, but we're going to wave you goodbye, and we'll look forward.
Okay, so in the European Union where this is occurring, there's maybe 10 or 15 people, along with Nigel Farage, who are waving the UK flag. And that's when things turn to poop, and the European Union people in charge are not having any more of that.
In the future, to working with you as sovereign...
They turned off his mic.
If you disobey the rules, you get cut off.
They turned off his mic.
Please remove the flags. Mr. Farage.
No flags in the European Union.
Remove the flags, please.
That's it. It's all over. Finished. It's gone.
Could I please ask for quiet?
Oh, my God.
Please sit down, resume your seats, put your flags away, you're leaving, and take them with you if you are leaving now. And goodbye. Can I just say, if I may say, just in a slight reference, the word hate was used in the last contribution. And I really think, given what we listened to prior to this, that we should not hate anyone or any nation or any people.
Oh, Jesus. These ignorant mudstuckers they're about as amusing and perennially happy as turds in punch bowls. They cannot help but try to fling poo like a gorilla at the zoo at anyone having any fun or doing anything contrary to what it is that they don't just suggest. Oh, no, it's whatever they demand. That's the European Union for you. I'm going to transition into something else. And there's an aura about this story that makes me of two minds. My first thought is, well, this might not be so big. It might not be that big a deal. And then I'm reminded of 1909. What happened fairly quietly is the World Health Organization has now declared the coronavirus outbreak a global health emergency. What you may or may not know is back in 1909, there was a global flu pandemic from birds, an avian flu, similar to this one, that ended up killing about a third of the people on the planet at the time. It was a flu. It went to pneumonia. It killed the older, BZ, that's you, the young. Here's something very interesting. In the little teeny town where I live, at the 4,000-foot level in the Sierra Nevada mountains, there's a little teeny weeny cemetery. One day I decided to go to that cemetery and look around. And I saw lots of big stone markers and monuments to adults. And alongside, there are two cemeteries, actually, in that town. And they're up on a hill. They got a beautiful view. And I started noticing, paying attention to the smaller markers. Then I started to pay attention to who was on those markers. And right around 1908, 1909, 1910, the smaller markers delineated children who had passed away at the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Young children. And I didn't get it until later when I finally realized, oh, that's the 1909 flu coming through the United States in the West and California and killing children. And so there's an historical mark for that as well. The interesting thing about this is there are lots of people, the percentile is split about 50-50. I'm discovering that about 50% of the people that I've been listening to on the air and on TV are saying, coronavirus, meh. Another bunch of people are saying, you ought to be paying some very serious attention here. So I have to tell you, I'm of two minds about this. I don't know. We are ready for some kind of pandemic. Is this it? I don't know. But we so easily and readily travel from one nation to another across massive expanses of oceans between continents. It really is only a matter of time before something really bad breaks out. So I think the question, I'm going to put this on monitor mode. Don't think that I don't have an assload of N95 masks, by the way, because I do. The people in chat, again, Simone, Jack, Dave, Alaskan, Kaiser, one viewer. A lot of people. It's named the coronavirus. Corona means crown, and it's the nature of the virus itself. Apparently, swear to God, there are some people that are thinking that Corona beer spreads this virus. It's stuff like that you really, really can't make up. And you can't make up the haughty arrogance of Hillary Clinton. Because here's an article that just came out today from BizPac Review. And it says, above the law, Hillary is mocked for refusing to be served legal papers. Tulsi Gabbard attorney sounds off. So Tulsi Gabbard, because of some remarks that Hillary Clinton made about Tulsi Gabbard, saying that Tulsi Gabbard was nothing but a shill for Russia. Hillary Clinton, well, I should say, Tulsi Gabbard decided that she was going to sue for that. Okay, you can. Dave, I know it was a joke. But I'm telling you, if you go to social media, there's some people that think it's not a joke. The article says Hillary Clinton is reportedly dodging legal papers from being delivered to her related to Representative Tulsi Gabbard's defamation lawsuit. Remember when she said, "No one is above the law"? Well, she's behaving exactly like someone who is, as she has reportedly been hiding from being served in the Hawaii Democrats' $50 million lawsuit against her. Apparently, a server knocked on the door of Hillary's residence, was met by the Secret Service, and then refused entry and service. Well, come on. Answering for anything is just for little people. It's just for little people. Now, I haven't done this in a while, so I'm going to have to do this right now because I do have some interesting audio cuts coming up just for you.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Do you remember something of a kerfuffle between Don Lemon and some of the people that he had on his show, and then Don Lemon apologizing for calling everybody that voted for Trump stupid, etc.? Here's the RNC doing something I wish they'd done consistently for years now. They made an ad. The RNC released very recently an ad highlighting the CNN clip where Don Lemon is mocking Trump supporters because we're all ignorant rednecks. Don't you know that? Anybody that voted for Trump is stupid. So why wouldn't the RNC turn it into a nice little commercial?
Couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. He knows that this is, an administration defined by ignorance of the world.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
And so that's partly him playing to their base.
Anyone who supported this president is, at best, looking the other way on racism.
You're a racist.
The credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump that wants to think that Donald Trump's the smart one, and y'all elitists are dumb.
Trump always loves the low information guy.
You elitists with your geography and your maps.
Issue of racism across the country.
Joe Biden.
That's his base.
Racists across the country. That's Trump's base. That's you. They think you're a joke. They think all of you are a joke. Prove them wrong in November. Vote red in November. That's the best thing I can think of. So here's Don Lemon, and he was joking and laughing and having a great time. But, Don Lemon, as he said, come on, he wasn't serious. He didn't mean that.
One final note that I have for you, because this is personally important to me to address this, okay? Ask anyone who knows me.
Right.
They'll tell you.
Right.
I don't believe in belittling people.
No.
Belittling anyone.
Even though you're on
for
video
who they are,
doing it.
For what they believe.
Right.
Or where they're from.
Right. Of course. Mm-hmm.
During an interview on Saturday night, one of my guests said something that made me laugh. And while in the moment, I found that joke humorous.
Right.
And I didn't catch everything that was said.
Okay, that's a lie. Don Lemon was reacting to everything that was said. I just wanted to play that to you because, again, like most leftists, they can't talk to you. It's in their DNA somehow. It's physically impossible for a leftist, a Democrat, or an American media maggot to look you in the face and not lie to you. Here's the real reason that Pelosi states why they can't accept a second term for President Donald Trump. They cannot accept a second term for Trump.
Anyway, we have to make sure, this will sound political, but we have to make sure that the Constitution wins the next presidential election.
When have the leftists and the Democrats and the American media maggots heretofore been even one microscopic crap concerned about the Constitution or the Bill of Rights? Oh, that's right, when their ox gets gored.
We can't be worrying about, well, how long is this going to take or that. It'll take as long as it does. And we will press the case so that in the court of public opinion, people will know what is right.
Right.
But we cannot accept a second term for Donald Trump if we are going to be faithful to our democracy and to the Constitution of the United States. And that is just a fact.
Okay, a smattering of applause. Just a few, not a massive amount of applause.
We have to operate on many fronts. We have to operate in the Congress, in the courts, and in the court of public opinion.
Right.
And we must win the next election.
Yeah, because you're doing so well with this impeachment thing, aren't you? Here's a happy story. The Washington Post reinstates a reporter, and then she immediately tries to cancel her boss. You know, like social contract cancel. What's the first thing that you do after your activist colleagues pull out all the stops to get you your job back? Try to cancel your boss for suspending you in the first place. Mere hours after being reinstated from a suspension by the Washington Post, Felicia Sonmez, S-O-N-M-E-Z, if you want to find her and say hello to her, took to Twitter to start another mob. The reporter who thought it was prudent to tweet out Kobe Bryant's 2003 rape allegation on the day that he and his daughter died tragically, she attempted to launch a new campaign on Twitter. This time her quarry is her boss, Marty Barron, after he fired her and then said, okay, come on back. So it's kind of a bold move, don't you think, to try to get the internet to attack your boss for suspending you after you being stupid. Then he reinstates you. And then you want to blame him all again. Isn't that funny how that works? Let's see, what do I got? I got about 7 more minutes yet. And I've got a really great audio cut that if you haven't heard this, you need to hear it. Remember, the Democrats are saying in the impeachment hearings, we got to hear from John Bolton. Because John Bolton is going to save this impeachment. John Bolton is going to say that there was, in fact, quid pro quo and a betrayal of America by Donald John Trump. OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. And that's why they wanted to have witnesses. Except that now somebody has managed to dredge up an audio cut and a video cut. This is an interview with John Bolton describing the president's conversations with the president of Ukraine as warm and cordial in August of 2019. If he thought at that time that the president was stiff-arming the Ukrainians, wow, he had a real strange way of showing it.
Follow-up to my visit last year on Independence Day, where I was really honored to have a chance to participate in that, and now with the new government in Ukraine to see what might be possible going forward on a whole variety of fronts.
Right.
Do you plan to meet President Zelensky, and what messages did you bring to him?
Well, I will be meeting President Zelensky. He and President Trump have already spoken twice president called the
So Bolton knows about that. Bolton knows about having spoken to the Ukraine president. Here's where Bolton objects vehemently and stridently and loudly to Trump having this conversation, because he knows for a fact there was quid pro quo. Okay, John, stand up and start yelling at Trump.
Congratulate President Zelensky on his election and then on his success in the parliamentary election. They were very warm and cordial calls. We're hoping that they'll be able to meet in Warsaw and have a few minutes together, because the success of Ukraine, maintaining its freedom, its system of representative government, a free market economy free of corruption, and dealing with the problems of the Donbass and the Crimea are high priorities here, obviously, but high priorities for the United States as well.
Oh, darn. Wait, are you saying, BZ, are you saying that he had the opportunity to trash Donald Trump right there, and then for whatever reason, he just didn't decide to do it? If you want a happy story, and I think this may be the last one for the night, allegedly tomorrow is going to be a big day for the UK, and apparently it's going to be a very big day for the United States as well. Here's an article from The Hill, which states GOP senators believe they have the votes to block witnesses. It was clear to Senate Republicans on yesterday, after a morning meeting between Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, that the question of having additional witnesses is settled. And the Senate will vote Friday, tomorrow. Well, if you're Dave, tomorrow is today. See how that weird time warp works here in the saloon? The Senate will vote Friday to wrap up the impeachment trial of President Trump. There was no discussion of witnesses at a Senate GOP lunch meeting Wednesday, which was held a couple hours after McConnell and Murkowski met for about 20 to 30 minutes. So tomorrow will be a very interesting day. So let me see if I got the math on this. I've never been very good at math, but I'm going to proffer a math problem for you right now. Let me see if I can suss this out. So if Republicans have enough votes to keep all the witnesses out of the impeachment hearings and essentially kick impeachment to the curb, in my opinion, as well they should, as I'm hearing, can anyone guess how many Democrat heads will explode in D.C., and also, subsequently, at what decibel level that will occur? Here's my math equation. I'm thinking 47 plus 232 equals, let's see, 47 and 232, carry the 5, the 3 is invisible. I think that's 279 exploding heads.
Monsieur has unlocked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, a radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you'll find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP, and on my blog at just like that. Again, remember, the 3 is silent. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, Shure and Electro Voice microphones, Arrakis boards, and Pratt & Whitney engines thrust. You can trust. Tiaras are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour. And also, thank you for being so kindly for listening live tonight. Thanks to Eric RIGARD, Republican candidate for California Assembly in District 9. And thanks for everybody for being in chat. Thanks for listening in the podcast. I appreciate the time that each and every one of you take. I'll be back on Tuesday, probably on Tuesday, an Iranian expert on the Middle East, Carmel Melamed. Great dude, great interview. Be here. Aloha. Have a great weekend. Be safe.
quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.
Now you know the rest of the story.
That's all, folks.